Is Sunshot Militia the way to make the Red God Ojer Axonil actually competitive in Standard on a budget? That's what we're gonna find out today. Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Budget Magic, and we have a super nice budget magic deck this week. We're playing Sunshot God combo in Standard, and this deck is super sweet. So let's talk about what this 14 rare and mythic budget deck is trying to do. Jump into some games, see it in action. So this deck was actually inspired by the Twitch stream. We're playing this Rakdos Sack deck with Ojer Axonil Deepest Might, the Red God from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and we are trying to figure out how we could make the Red God good in Standard. So its ability is, if a red source we control would deal non-combat damage less than its power to an opponent, instead it deals damage equal to Ojer Axonil's power. Its power is 4, so essentially if we deal 1 damage with a red source, instead we get 4 damage with a red source. So we were trying to figure out, how do we make this work in Standard? And everyone was throwing out ideas, and someone said Sunshot Militia. Sunshot Militia is kind of like a iconic limited card from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, just this common 2-mana 1/3 that lets you tap 2 artifacts or creatures to deal 1 damage to each opponent only as a sorcery. And my first reaction to this was, no, it's not going to be good enough. It's just a draft card. It's a little too slow, a little too underpowered. But then I started to think about it more, and then I started to test it, and then I realized, wait a minute, this actually might be kind of busted. So you can probably see the synergy. If we have Sunshot Militia and Ojer Axonil out, every 2 artifacted creatures that we tap, we deal 4 damage to our opponent's face. So our deck is actually built to just put as many permanents on the board as possible, and then drop Sunshot, drop Ojer Axonil, and burn our opponent out of the game, maybe from 20 all at once. So how do we actually flood the board with enough permanents to do this? And we have a lot of things that put multiple things on the battlefield, if that makes sense. So like Voldaren Epicure is a great example of a card that is supercharged by this combo. So it's just a 1-mana 1/1. When it ETBs, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, and we create a blood token. But think about this card in the context of the combo. In the combo, Voldaren Epicure ETBs and deals 4 damage to our opponent because of Ojer Axonil, and then it makes a blood token, so we can tap it and the blood token to Sunshot Militia to deal 4 more damage to our opponent. So that means in our deck, Voldaren Epicure is often 1 mana, 8 damage at your face, which is ridiculous. Kimano faces Kazan, just a good aggro card. First lore counter deals a damage, or 4 with Ojer Axonil. Then we have stuff like Charming Scoundrel, can make a treasure token. Same trick we were talking about with Voldaren Epicure. Charming Scoundrel plus treasure, tap them both with Sunshot, 4 to your face. Geological Appraiser discovers into something that we can theoretically tap to our Sunshot Militia to deal 4 more damage. And then we have Collector's Vault, which is our best card for setting up the combo. Just 2 mana, loot and make a treasure. If we can stick this early in the game, this can make 3 or 4 or 5 treasures, and it sets us up for this big combo turn. We often don't want to run out our Sunshot Militia and Ojer Axonil early. Usually we play like a weird combo deck where we're just kind of like staying alive, putting some relatively harmless permanents on the battlefield, doing some looting, making some treasures, and then we drop both combo pieces at once, tap all of our treasures, 20 our opponent, win the game on the spot. We also have a bunch of actual burn, play with Fire Lightning Strike, and the festivity is kind of hilarious with Ojer Axonil, 4 to the face and 1 to all of your stuff. Virtue of Courage, burn, plus also some card advantage. Sadly, Witch Stalker's Frenzy doesn't actually deal damage to our opponent's face, but it does heal Shieldred, which is good. And all of these cards get way better if we have the Red God out. Like, the damage they deal is just so much higher if we throw it at our opponent's face. The mana base, pretty simple, 19 Mountains, some Mishra's Foundries. In the sideboard, Furnace Punisher to punish greedy 3-color decks, Twisted Fealty to steal big creatures, smash our opponent with them, a bunch more removal, and that is Sunshot God combo for Standard. That's our budget magic for today. So let's jump into some games and see if limited all-star Sunshot Militia is actually the way to make the Red God playable in Lost Caverns of Ixalan Standard on a budget. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I will talk to you soon. Need some magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. We've got new tokens and playmats, and you can even get the tokens signed if you want. Check them all out over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. Budget magic time. We are bringing Sunfire Militia to Standard. All right, we're gonna keep this. I mean, so we don't have Sunfire Militia, but we do have We do have our God. Oh, this is kind of a waste, but I think we got to play this. We do have our God, and we have our Collector's Vault, so we can loot into the Militia eventually, hopefully. Opponent, oh God. Oh, wow, there's a Sunfire Militia. All right, well, this is a little greedy, but we're going to play the Sunfire Militia because we want to get this counter. This does mean that the Llanowar Elves gets to live for a turn. All right, into a Hammer Skull. That's awkward. Well, we might be getting wrecked. That seems very possible. So how do we, you know what? We gotta play the Collector's Vault. Yeah, pass the turn. Please don't kill us, fight rigging. Opponent, Copperline George. Another Lore Keeper. Passes, we draw land. All right, so our opponent did nothing last turn, and they had the mana. Okay, so we play the land. Play with fire, one of the Lore Keepers. And I think we just have to pass and loot, right? Actually, okay, we can loot now. Do we need to keep both gods? Discard a god, make a treasure. And then tap. All right, well, let's see what our opponent can do. We have the god to go with the Sunfire. We can hit for a lot next turn. Bonehorde Drakazor, an opponent gonna go attacking. Play the land, play the god. Tap. Is there a way we die this turn is the question. Tap. You know what? No fear. Tap. Pass the turn. Opponent hits 2 lands. Plays a land. Trumpeting Carnosaur. That's fine. It doesn't have haste. Unless if they hit haste off this, I'm gonna cry. All right, that's fine. That's fine. Just a Hammer Skull. Just a Hammer Skull. So we get to take the beats and then just win. Opponent, bring it. We will take the 11. That is acceptable. Down to 3, but 3's not dead. And now we untap. And we get to tap you and you. And then we'll Collector's Vault, loot. Discard Witchstalker's Frenzy. Tap you and you. And then play with a tiny bit of fire. Yes. The combo. We couldn't attack all game, and then we played the god with the Sunshot Militia and got him. Oh, opponent has a lot of big creatures. So we go down a Lightning Strike. We got a couple Geological Appraisers, maybe a Virtue of Courage. Sadly, probably to end the festivities. We can bring in Twisted Fealty, seems very good. Another Frenzy, and we have one more slot. Do we just keep the Virtue? We could keep the Geological Appraiser. You know what? Let's just keep the Virtue. Well, I mean, that's a combo. That's what we're trying to do with the deck. And it's I think we finally figured out how to break the Red God. You just got to look to limited. The power of Draft All-Stars coming to Standard. Yeah, all right. This is fine. We need to find our militia, but we're just gonna get this Lore Keeper off the battlefield. Only having a Birds of Paradise seems bad for us. We would rather avoid that, given the choice. All right, opponent has even more. Well, thankfully, we can continue to kill the Manadorks. Virtue of Courage. Ooh, that can actually do some things. Opponent land and Pugnacious Hammerskull. Well, play the land. Charming Scoundrel. Make a treasure token. I think we just pass because if we draw land, we can go God, hit you for 4 with Epicure, double Hammer Skull. All right, that's a lot of damage, Well, play the land, play the God. Play the Epicure, hit you for 4. And pass turn. Opponent gonna go attacking. Well, down to 8. Yeah, double Hammer Skull's annoying, my God. Ixalan Lore Keeper. There's the Sunshot Militia. Is it too late to matter? So we get to play Voliere and Epicure. Make a Blood Pigna. Sunshot Militia. That's lethal. Oh my God, that's exact. Oh my goodness, this deck. Ping you for 4. And maybe ping you for 4. I don't think we dealt any combat damage. Literally 0 points of combat damage. Gods and Sunshot Militias and tap them all and you die. I think we figured it out. And I will say, I will give all the credit to the Goldfish Twitch chat because we were playing this like Rakdos Sack deck with the Red God in it. Someone said, oh, what about Sunshot Militia? And my initial take was, oh, that's a limited card. I don't think it'll actually be worth it. But then I thought about it more and started testing it and eventually ended up building this deck. And I really think this random limited common is the way to break the rat, and we just saw it right there. Like, this wasn't like our opponent had some bad draw. I mean, they're playing dinosaurs, which I don't know what tier dinosaurs rank at, but they had double mana dork into 2 3-mana 6/6s, and it didn't matter. We just like combo killed them on turn 4. Was this our turn 4? Maybe it was turn 5. Did we miss a land drop? Anyway, we just like straight up combo killed, stormed off essentially with Ojer Axonil and Sunshot Militia. This deck's sweet. And it's budget friendly. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. Sunfire Militia combo. And this hand's fine. I mean, we don't have either of our combo pieces, but we got a nice little aggro draw and a collector's vault to go digging for some goodies. Well, let's just play the Foundry, Charming Scoundrel. And I think we just wicked roll it. Get in for 3. I mean, while we have this sweet combo for closing out the game, we're also not above beating down for lethal. Sometimes you just get the mono red aggro draw and go with it. Opponent, Underground River. Well, we will flip the Saga. They gotta have something, right? All right, go for the Throne on the Charming Scoundrel, sure. 14, 13. Voldaren Epicure hits you to 12. Mountain and Collector Vault. All right, let's see if we can close it out. These Foundries are going to be important this game, I think. They feel like they will probably be important. Opponent's almost top 1200. Let's see if we can change that. Opponent. Wow, Cavern on Wizard, interesting. And Ingenious Protege. Well, that is kind of annoying, isn't it? 1, 2, let's Collector's Vault. Loot away a mountain. Play a Mishra's Foundry and a Collector's Vault. And yeah, this 2-3 is gonna shut us down for now. Opponent, are we removing a counter? No, opponent wants that 2-3. With double Collector's Vault, we should be able to set up a situation, Sleep Curse Fae. And Invasion of Amonkhet. Okay. Well, there goes our last card, and a God, and a Virtue. That's annoying. Opponent's at 12, but what do we do about it? Opponent passes. We draw a useless mountain. Well, so we could fire up the Foundry. I mean, I think that's what we have to do. All right, fire up the Foundry. The question is, do we attack with everything or just the Foundry? Well, all right. Pump it. Hit you to 8. Play the mountain past the turn. All right, plays the Murex, sure. Benevolent Geist, yup. You know what, I think we actually just pass. Flash is in a Malcolm. Well, let's Collector's Vault loot. Discard the Frenzy, make a treasure. Collector's Vault loot. Discard the mountain, make a treasure. And then kill the Malcolm. His Prodigies on defense has been really good for our opponent. Gonna hit the invasion for 2, sure. And another Prodigy. Whew, all right. And a land. Well, let's see if we can draw something. Witch Stalker's Frenzy. All right, 1, 2, fire this up. 1, 2, fire this up. Wow, I don't think this is quite lethal, but it is close. So we fire up the Foundry. Fire up the Foundry. Attack with everything. Frenzy the big Protege. Hit you for 5. That's not lethal, though. Opponent can flip this Invasion of Amonkhet, but they can't get anything too good. Our God might be the best they can get. All right, gets a convert. I assume they're copying our god just because it's the... Oh, charming scoundrel. Okay. Yeah, I guess they get the ETB. The god doesn't really do much for them. I mean, we basically need to find some sort of burn. Thinking. Kaido. Draws with Kaido.
Thanks.
Plays a land. Malevolent Hermit. Phases out. Well, I mean, we're gonna play the god. All right, opponent's gonna go on card draw mode. Attacks. Gets to draw another card. Yeah, opponent drew so many cards this turn. Yeah, that is a ridiculous amount of card draw. Passes. The problem is we just can't beat a counter spell, right? Yeah, I mean, we're gonna cast it. End the festivities. But our opponent just drew a new hand, so odds of it resolving not very high. Opponent says good. Wow! Oh my goodness. I thought there was a 0% chance of that working. Like literally 0. Our opponent just drew 4 cards. I am very, very surprised that worked. I was not expecting that. Well, we will take it. I mean, the god paid off. We didn't find the Sunfire Militia for the combo, but I mean, yeah, sometimes you're in the festivities, deals 4, and it's actually really good. We'll bring in these Lithomantic Barrages. Maybe we don't want to play with fire. I don't know about these Furnace Punishers. What about the Frenzy? Do we care about Frenzy? This seems fine. Let's run it like that. Somehow that worked. I thought there was a literal 0% chance of that resolving. And the festivities for 4 is pretty sweet though, and it does work. All right, so opponent's Demir. Oh boy, that's full. I don't know if we can resolve it, but that is literally the full combo. Sunshot Militia into Ojer. Well, land and Saga. Plus this hand's not bad at pressuring early. I mean, if we can get things set up, all it takes is 1 turn. 1 turn to slam our stuff. Could actually use a Collector's Vault. Opponent, land. Well, we will play the land, play an Epicure. Ping you, make a blood. Play another Saga. Ping you. The question is, how quickly do we run out the Sunshot Militia? Opponent, land on Wizard. Passes. Well, let's do a little Saga flipping. All right, they're gonna kill the Etchings. They gain a little life there, which is annoying. We'll get down the Sunshot Militia. The extra counter is actually nice because it means it's outside of cut down range and also Parasitic Grasp range. Invasion of Amonkhet. Okay, well, we're gonna discard the Play with Fire. Opponent draws a card. Cavern. Sleep Curse Fairy. Okay, okay. That's all right. We get to do our thing. We get to do our thing. So we will flip our Saga. A bonus scoops it up. They didn't even wait to see the god. Taking down top 1200 almost. I did not think we were going to win game 1. Sunshot Militia, I'm telling you, people have woken up to the idea that it's a good limited card. I think this is the best way to break the red god in Constructed. Twitch chat has convinced me. Like, just think of what happens here. So our opponent scooped, sadly, or else what we do is we play the land, we play the red god, tap 2 for 8, or tap 2 for 4, tap 2 for 4. We get in so much damage. It's kind of ridiculous. Like, when Sunshot Militia's dealing 4 a shot, it is so game ending. Well, sweet. Sounds fine. We got the Collector's Vault, which is pretty key to our combo kills, and we had a little aggro hand, kind of a lot of lands, but Collector's Vault helps with that. So we are trying to get the red god down with limited all-star Sunshot Militia, and Wombo Combo kill ya. Yeah, let's get on the phases. See what our opponent is up to. I have a prediction. I predict our opponent will play a land. Whoa, nailed it. Well, we're gonna play this Voldaren Epicure to get the faces value. Doesn't use our mana as effectively, but I think that's fine. Playing it this way, Epicure, and then probably blood tokening away one of these mountains is worth it. Ooh, Voldaren Epicure. Oh, maybe our opponent's Recto Sack. Interesting. Ichor Drinker. Okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense in Sack. It comes back from the graveyard, sort of. Incubates from the graveyard. Virtue. Ooh, Virtue could do some things. Well, I mean, we're going to play a land, and we don't really want to lose our foundry, so I think we just... Yeah, let's just virtue this Ichor Drinker. Exile it thanks to the etchings and smash it for 4. Virtue of Courage is a really fun card to have on the battlefield. And we might actually be able to get on the battlefield this game. Our Epicure's a little better than yours. So the story of this deck is on stream last week. 2 weeks ago? I don't know. But on stream, we were playing a Rakdos sack deck with the Red God. Trying to make the Red God work. Ooh, Preacher. Oh, maybe our opponent's vampires. Okay. Okay, that's cool. I haven't seen vampires. I do think Preacher of the Schism, though, can be a good card. I think we just go attacking. And if our opponent blocks, we play with the fire. If they don't block, then I guess we can just Collector's Vault and start making some treasures. So we were trying to make the Red God work. We played this Rakdos sack deck. It was okay. And someone in chat was like, what about a Sunshot Militia, which is like getting some hype in limited as being a really good limited card. And I was like, no, like, ooh, Vampire Lord. All right. Lifelink is a little obnoxious. I mean, we can just play with fire it. So opponent gets in, lifelinking Vampire. I think we'd rather Collector's Vault though, with another Virtue. We can deal with our opponent's, most of our opponent's board. So opponent hits us to 16. We draw faces. Well, let's get rid of the Lord. So someone said Sunshot Militia, and my initial take was no. Like, it's a limited card. Like, it's sorcery speed, it's not gonna be good enough. But then the more I thought about it, and then finally started playing with it and testing it, I think it might be the truth. I think actually this random limited common might be the card that can make the Red God good in Standard. All right, get down another phases, ping you. Volnir and Bloodcaster. This Preacher of the Schism is kind of annoying because it has 4 toughness. The pieces fit, you might say. And I know it. Pony has an annoyingly big board here. We're at 14, so we're not really in danger of immediately dying. It's really hilarious how much the exile mode on this etchings does. It seems like throwaway text, but it actually is so relevant. Well, clean up the board a bit, get down a Virtue. We have a play with fire in hand, which can draw us some cards. No death triggers because of that double Preacher. Quite the tool. I mean, wow, attacks with both. I mean, I guess our opponent's thinking that they're winning the race, and I guess they kind of are. But we have a Virtue of Courage, which can do some really ridiculous things. All right, so we take our beats down to 10. I think we're just gonna upkeep play with fire to get the scry. Okay, there's the Ojer. Yes, we do want that. That is one of our 2 combo pieces. So we get to draw 2 with the Virtue. Oh, land? That's awkward. We hit both of our combo pieces. We hit the Sunshot Militia, but we are a mana short from actually casting it. And this is impulse draw, so it's going away at the end of turn. If we hit a land, I think we just immediately win by playing both of our combo pieces. We do immediately win. We just tap everything. Instead, we'll just have to play the God. I mean, it's still okay. It's still okay. We got a 4/4 now. We still have the Virtue. Opponent attacks a... Whoa, why are they... Whoa! Oh, I didn't even realize that. If you're exactly the same life total as your opponent, you get both modes of Preacher? Oh, that's kind of ridiculous. So our opponent got to make 2 tokens and draw 2 and lose 2. I guess I didn't read that card closely. I mean, that's kind of like a random thing. It's not like you can really build your deck to be at the same life total as your opponent, but a little bit better than I thought. And I already thought Preacher was good. Sanguine Evangel. All right, can we just hit... All right, and the festivities works. Opponent, I think your festivities might be over. And because we got the God, it hits for 4. And because we got the Virtue, we draw 4. And pieces might not be fitting as well as our opponent hoped. This is a hilarious end the festivities deck. So unfortunately, our God only increases the damage to our opponent's face. So we don't get 4 damage to all of our opponent's creatures within the festivities, but sweep away all your X1s and hit you for 4 is still kind of ridiculous for 1 mana. Especially like our opponent's got a lot of X1s that killed like 5 creatures, and technically our opponent. I'm glad to see someone playing vampires, because vampires are cool, and I just have not seen them in the standard format. So it's very sweet that someone's actually playing with them. This end's fine. We got our militia, a couple collector's vaults. Collector vault, so the main idea of this deck, if you're one of those people who just skips through the deck, the main idea of the deck, though, is to set up, and the festivity is probably going to be good, is to set up a board state where we have enough artifacts and creatures on the battlefield that we can just play the god, play the Sunfire Militia, tap stuff. Every 2 things we tap is 4 damage, kill you on the spot. Collector's Vault probably looks super weird in a deck that kind of looks like mono red aggro, but it's actually a really good way to just put a bunch of artifacts on the battlefield. So we saw the Vampire Lord. We would like to play Collector's Vault this turn, flip our Saga, the following turn, end the festivities, everything goes to exile, they don't get any blood tokens. That would be the ideal scenario. If they play the Lord, though, it'd be so bad. Yeah, I think we're gonna be a little greedy. Let's get out our militia. The counter from the etchings or the faces on the Sunfire Militia actually kind of big, not just for blocking purposes, but it gets out of cut down range. Vron. Well, this works. We can do the thing we were talking about. The Vron will survive, but that's fine. Our opponent doesn't get any triggers. I guess we could play with fired if we wanted to. So play the Foundry, and let's just, do we have to kill the Vron? Let's just Collector Vault. The Vron can probably stick for a turn, especially with the etchings out, so it's not gonna trigger. And the festivities. The Vron lives, but we exile the Ichor Drinker and the Bloodcaster. And now we have the Collector's Vault down to go digging for, I mean, I guess it's really just the god. We have the Sunfire, so wow, opponent's gonna trade it. All right, well, that works. Opponent's down to 17. The board is temporarily clear. Veto. I think we're going to do a little Collector's Vaulting here. Oh, well, discard a Collector's Vault. Oh, this hurts, but I think we just have to double play with fire this Veto. Such a waste of scrying and potential damage, but Veto, it's not super scary right now, but if our opponent can play some stuff and start triggering it, it's gonna get super scary. Oh. Preacher of the Schism. I promise I won't do that every time we play vampires for the next 3 years. Or actually I might, but I'm not even like the biggest Tool fan either. People, I like that song. And Tool's one of those bands that I really respect. You ever run into those bands that you don't really listen to, but you respect because you know they're good? They're just not really your thing. Tool's kind of in that category for me. Like, I have a lot of respect for Tool, and I think they're like one of the better metal bands, and they're certainly immensely talented, but they're also not a band that I listen to often. Well, let's do a little tapping. Ping it down to 13, pass the turn. So, we could use the god. We could use the god. If we draw the god, our opponent takes a lot of damage. So, Sanguine Evangel, sure. Opponent's kind of building a big bull. Oh, Bart, that's actually a problem. Well, I'm glad we killed the Veto now, because that Veto was about to go off. So Preacher gets in, makes a token. You can see all the, like, vampire synergies. Like, the Preacher makes a token, you can sack to Bart to trigger Veto. Also works with Evangelist and the Battlecry ability. So you can see a little bit of the pre-built deck thing people talk about. Do we Collector's Vault? Yeah, I think we just Charming Scoundrel, get the counter. This actually could be slipping away. The question's gonna be, can we find the god in a timely enough manner? I mean, I think all that matters here is finding the god. I think that's literally the only thing that matters. Play with fire. So let's tap to get in a little damage. So the thing we need to deal with is the Bart. The problem is the Bart can sack stuff to get counters. So play with fire is gonna have a hard time actually killing it. Opponent just draws a land, which is about all we could hope for. So I think what we gotta do, we'll see how our opponent attacks. If they attack with a Bart, we gotta try to deal with it, or at least make our opponent sack a bunch of stuff. So Preacher gets in, makes another token. So if we block with Charming Scoundrel, yes, hurts, and some of the stuff has lifelink, that's awkward. So block the Evangel, get rid of the Battlecry, block the Bart. So our opponent is probably gonna sack 2 things. Yeah. When they sack the second thing, we're gonna try to play with fire it. They can still save it, but then they're gonna have to sack 2 more things. They're still gonna, I assume they keep sacking. They have enough stuff, thanks to this preacher and that evangel that they can. Yeah, there's a sack. So I assume they gotta just keep going. Sacks and sacks. They gotta sack 1 more. So this does kind of like clean up the board. The problem is this Bart's gonna be absolutely massive. And it kind of cleans up our board too. Like we dropped to 9. God. And says we're in the festivities looks really bad. Although like the power of treasure vault, collector's vault is, if you draw something bad, you can always turn it into something hopefully less bad. At least something new. Well, okay, actually, Mountain is actually worse than the festivities. Well, Pinya. We can chump the Bart this turn with the etchings. Us Preacher. Yeah, we've seen the Preacher of the Schism, like, kind of just do its thing here. So I think we have to just pass. Do we win if we draw the God? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, Evangel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, if we draw the God, we have 12 damage, although I don't think we can Collector Vault into it. So opponent gets in, draws a card, drops to 10. We gotta jump. So this is it. We just have to top deck the God. If we top deck Ojer Axonil or whatever it is this turn, we are good because we have the Sunfire Militia. Another Preacher. Opponent passes. God. Mounted. Well, we can loot, but I think we don't have enough, even if we hit it. Virtue of Courage. Yeah, that does not do it. All right. Well, Vampires look sweet that game, actually. Maybe we gotta try playing Vampires sometime. I want it. You know what we gotta do is Roaming Throne Vampires. We did Roaming Throne-ish in Humans, and it was so sweet. And Roaming Throne is just such a cool card. We need to play some more Roaming Throne decks. Vampires has some upside. Corpse Appraiser, Blood Tithe Harvester, Preacher of the Schism. It's got a lot of sneaky triggered abilities. I'm sure over the course of like the next few months or years we will play probably every Roaming Throne deck possible because that card's just so cool. This sounds pretty good. So we don't have the God, but we do have the Sunfire Militia. I think End the Festivities is like really good against our opponent's deck. It seems like they got a lot of 1 toughness creatures. Doesn't get rid of the Preacher of the Schism, and there is a risk that they stick the Lord, and that makes things awkward, but otherwise, I think it's pretty good. I was going back and forth. I ended up with 2 in the main and 2 in the sideboard and the festivities. It's either like, so if we have the God, it's always fine because it's 1 mana 4 damage. So it's always fine if we have the God out. If we don't have the God out, it's very hit or miss depending on the matchup. In some matchups, it's like ridiculous and just game ending. In other matchups, it's kind of just horrible and useless. You gotta play your land. I feel bad. I do feel bad for people that time out right now just because, at least for me, oh, well, okay. We get the freebie on turn 1. Opponent actually just started a 1-drop. Oh, that hurts because you know they could have played it. Arena's been pretty crashy lately. I feel like every few matches, I usually get a crash. It's usually, I haven't been able to figure out why. Like, what does it? Yeah, let's Collector's Vault. But it's usually when I make an action, like I put something on the stack, and then the game just hard crashes. And then you gotta restart, and it really depends on how many timeouts you have. If you have more than 1 timeout, you can usually get back in without missing. If you have 0 timeouts, though, I can't get back into the game fast enough, unfortunately. Opponent, Markov Baron. Sure. Passes. Well, there's a Lord we're a little worried about. Discard the land, draw a card. Lightning Strike. Ooh, another on the festivities. We could just double on the festivities. We could also just Lightning Strike and not worry about it. I do think we need to kill the Lord, though, just because of the lifelink. So in the early game with this deck, it's nice to try to build up some treasures just for combo purposes. Like, the more treasures we have on the battlefield, yeah, let's just run out the Sunfire Militia. Tap the treasures. I think this means our opponent probably can't attack with a Lord anyway. Even if they can, it's only 2. We would rather our opponent, like, put more things on the battlefield and then double in the festivities everything. Ooh, Sanguine Evangel, sure. Opponent gains a couple life, but that's fine. Ooh. Wow, that is a draw. That is a God, and And the festivities hit you for 4. Clear some of your board, and the festivities hit you for 4. Clear the rest of your board. And then we can just tap our stuff to deal 8 more. Yeah, this is the combo. This is what we're trying to do. This is it. That is all. That is a full plan coming to fruition. I feel a little bad about our opponent missing their first turn, but honestly, our draw is so good. I don't think like if they played the random Dork on turn 1, the Voldaire Epicure, it still just gets swept away by the end of the festivities. They still just die to the Ojer. Like, it wouldn't have made a difference. It wouldn't have made a difference. And that is the combo. Veto. Opponent runs it out, gets in with the bat, but all we gotta do is tap some stuff to Sunshot Militia, and yeah, well, that was a sweet one. That was super sweet. Like, even if we draw a second land, we don't really do much. Like, we could Epicure, sack the blood, try to draw land, but like, what's the best case scenario? The best case scenario is eventually we get 4 mana and cast a god. All right, this is better. Yeah, we'll just put a land at the bottom. I mean, we got double Sunshot and a Charming Scoundrel. Charming Scoundrel is really good in this deck because, much like Voldaire and Epicure, it puts enough permanents on the battlefield to activate Sunshot Militia, which is very, like, it's so funny how strong Voldaire and Epicure is in this deck. Ooh, Collector Vault. Vault might actually be better. Yeah, let's play Vault, I think, over Charming Scoundrel. Like, if you think about Voldaire and Epicure with the combo, it comes down ETB hits for 4 if we have the God out. And then it makes a blood, so we can immediately just tap it and the blood to the Sunshot Militia for 4 more. That's essentially, oh, we whiffed on lands. That's a bummer. That's essentially 1 mana 8 damage, which is an absurd rate. All right, Voldaire and Epicure, Pena down to 18 and ship the turn. We would have liked to hit a land there. So opponent's Dimir, gonna do a little likeness looting. So the question's gonna be, can we resolve our pieces, essentially? Like, well, okay, 2 questions. Can we hit our land drops, number 1, which we should be able to with Collector's Vault, and also Charming Scoundrel. But assuming we can, we just gotta stick the Sunshot into the Ojer, and we're, ooh, Chupacabra. Okay, so opponent, they must be like a graveyard Goyf style deck. Ledger Shredder. Callous Sellsword. I think our opponent really just wanted to trigger these Ledger Shredders. So I'm gonna sack Likeness Looter to, wow, okay. Opponent just really wanted those Ledger Shredder triggers, which I guess makes sense. No attacks. This is essentially the same turn as last turn. We can play the Charming Scoundrel, or we can Collector's Vault. We just gotta hit our lands. That's step 1. So I think we Collector Vault, try to hit a land. If we do, we could Charming Scoundrel. Okay, there's a land. So discard a Charming Scoundrel, play the land, and then run out the Charming Scoundrel off the treasure. Get another treasure. Okay, 2 mana 1/1. We achieved the 2 mana 1/1 dream. Pass the turn. This might not look like it's going well, but we're actually like kind of close to just winning. As weird as that sounds, like we're kind of close to just, all right, Somnophage, sure. We're kind of close to just slam the Militia, slam the God, ping ya. Not even ping, hit you for 4. Like those are big bigs. Are we doing the same thing? Our opponent's also not hitting that many lands. Let's just run out the Militia. Start tapping stuff. 1 damage, 2 damage. 3 damage. And this has the upside that if we just untap with our stuff, we win the game. Wow, otherworldly game. Okay, just tap out. Like we have the treasure. 1, 2, 3. Actually, no, we are just short of winning. We hit for 12. We need to draw land. If we draw land, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, if we draw land, then we just straight up win the game. So opponent, fill in the graveyard, finds land. Oh, you gotta play the Somnophage, right? You can't leave okay, there's a Somnophage. Opponent triggers their Shredders, that's fine. All we need is a land and it's GG. Combo kill. Opponent's tapped out, so we don't gotta worry about removal. Opponent's finally gonna get a little frisky with a Ledger Shredder. And, Collector's Vault. The dream of immediate lethal's dying. We still gotta do it though. Like, it might not kill our opponent right this second, but tap 2 bloods, hit you for 4, and then tap land and I guess Sunshot. One of the things to keep in mind when when choosing what to tap to Sunshot is sometimes you want to tap the thing that you don't want your opponent to kill. Like in this case, we don't want our opponent to kill Sunshot. If we leave it untapped, ooh, Chupacabra. Chupacabra descend 11. Oh, this is fine though, because we have a backup god. Wow, good thing we didn't discard one of the 2 gods to the collector's vault. Well, it took 2 turns instead of 1, but technically our first god dying ramps us into our second god, and this time it's definitely lethal, and we're not gonna die here. We can chump block the Somnophage. Technically, we could just take it, but we'll block. It doesn't really matter. We got the game here, so god number 2 comes down, do a little tap in, and do a little more tapping, and opponent cannot beat the Sunshot Militia. Too strong, too strong. We don't really have graveyard hate. Twisted Fealty could be good. Somnophage does grow based on all graveyards, so yeah, I think we go Furnace Punisher, Twisted Fealty. This does not feel like a End the Festivities matchup. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier about End the Festivities. It's like very, very matchup dependent. Sometimes it's our best card, sometimes it's our worst card. So I ended up with the very middle of the road 2-2 split in the main deck and sideboard. This is a better 1-lander. It is still a 1-lander. We are on the draw. If we get a land, we get Charming Scoundrel. These are the kind of hands I keep and then get very yelled at. Oh, see? We mulliganed and ended up with a 1-lander anyway. We actually ended up with almost the same hand. Actually, this hand's, I think, technically better because we have the full combo, so it still worked out. Get down that bigger, ping ya. This hand is actually really good if we're alive. I'm a little scared of our opponent's deck because I have a feeling they can put some big bodies on the battlefield, but probably got to just get down Collector Vault. We can start looting to make sure we hit our lands and set up for the combo. Opponent gets and hits us down to 17. And oh, Casualty of Ixalan. That's actually really bad. Okay. On second thought, we might be dying. So opponent makes a devil, ticks up. We're not gonna discard. We draw land naturally, which is nice. How do we slog through 2 Ixalan? Remember when everyone thought this card was gonna be broken? I mean, it's not bad, but it's certainly, I would say, has been a flop compared to the initial hype. I think the initial hype on Ixalan was very, very high, but it turns out it really matters what your Planeswalker's abilities are. Even, like, having 2 bad things is not necessarily good. You just have more badness when you have 2 bad things. And I think that's what Ixalan ran into. Not that Ixalan is bad, but it's something that's not, like, as generically powerful as some other Planeswalkers. So we get rid of 1 Ixalan. We lose our board thanks to the silly devil token. Yeah, we're gonna wait. There's some upside to holding on to this Epicure because we can play the god and then Epicure. We're still on the combo kill plan. Like, that's still our main way of winning this game. Somnophage does some milling. Whew. Can you imagine Ixalan off the Somnophage? Our opponent's deck in the mid game can probably immediately ultimate Ixalan pretty easily. Opponent takes up. Well, let's do a little looting with the Collector Vault. Discard the Epicure. Not gonna discard, down to 13. Oh, we do draw the land too. Man, this is bad. We can play the Charming Scoundrel. So I think our plan is play the Sunshot Militia, ping ya. Oh, there is such a high life total though. So like, even if we get down the god, we can deal what? 4, 8, 12. It's not enough. That's not enough. Opponent takes up, and we're gonna start losing things. Ooh, yeah, that probably does it. Now I don't think there's any way we can win because we're just locked into getting abyssed by the Somnophage. Well, turns out double Ixalan turn 3. Pretty tough, pretty good. Let's bring to play with fire. Now that we see our opponent is trying to casualty Ixalan, another way to snipe something on turn 2 seems worth it. 1 Ixalan is fine. We can deal with 1 Ixalan, but 2, especially coming off something big, is an issue. All right, we're on the play for game number 3. Sand is punishing. Literally. I mean, I feel like Furnace Punisher, we have not seen many basics from our opponent's deck, so it should be turned on. I think we're going to play Faces on turn 1, even though kind of awkwardly, we're unlikely to get the counter on turn 2, so we're not going to get all the value, but it flips into a 2-2 eventually. Opponent, tap land. Well, play the mountain, play the Collector Vault. Gotta play the mountain for the Furnace Punishers. Likeness Luta. Well, we get to flip our Saga, play the Foundry, and yeah, I mean, sideboard plan, run out the Furnace Punisher. Furnace Punisher also does synergize with the God. Hits for 4 a turn, which is actually a pretty fast clock. Like 4 a turn because you don't have enough basics is not gonna let you live long. Continues to play non-basics. I mean, a lot of decks in Standard don't have that many basics. You run into 3-color decks, they're probably only playing like 2 or 3 basics in their entire deck. So the odds of having 2 on the battlefield, not high. Opponent loots away a Tenacious Underdog. Corpse appraises the Tenacious Underdog. Also, Furnace Punisher has Menace too. It gets even better. We might just be getting the weird aggro in here. So opponent finds something. We do not get punished. We draw Mountain. Get in with the Furnace Punisher. That's kind of a freebie. Down to 12. Furnace Punisher number 2. Play the land. And yeah, our opponent like has to deal with these Furnace Punishers. They have 2 turns. Even if we don't attack anymore, they're dead in 2 turns. Oh, there's a basic. Opponent's trying to play around it. They're trying to play around it. Can they get the basics quick enough to avoid the Furnace Punisher death? Likeness looting. All right. Draws and discards. What would be bad for us here? I guess Shielder would be annoying. Chupacabra. Okay, that does deal with a Furnace Punisher. Also probably means we can't really attack. Wow, that is actually absurd. Is this game? Yoink the Corpse Appraiser. Put the Wicked Roll on the Etchings. Well, I think this is a game, right? Opponent's gonna take 6 and then 2 from the Furnace Punisher. They can't block the Furnace Punisher because of Menace, and well, we didn't combo off, but we did get to see the Furnace Punisher living up to its name. Yeah, you got instant speed life gain? Apparently not. Well, the deck's actually pretty sweet. It's actually pretty sweet. All right, budget magic time. Wee! Wow, top 600. We're playing hard mode. We're trying to combo off with well, this looks like a mono red hand. Okay, maybe we're just mono red this game, but we're comboing off with the Red God and limited all-star Sunfire Militia. Who would have thought? Dinos again. Oh, this is so awkward. So we really need to play the Charming Scoundrel to get the counter, but this living is potentially very risky. Although 4-drop's not the best slot in Dinos. You know what? All right, Charming Scoundrel, get the counter. I think we actually rummage, get rid of one of these lands. Well, there's a Militia, again and hit ya. Down to 17. Well, let's see how bad this is. How about just another Mana Dork? Opponent land. All right, it's Pugnacious Hammerskull. Well, there's the God, though. That does change things a bit. So we can't really attack successfully. We can play Mishra's Foundry, play Charming Scoundrel, make a treasure, play Sunfire Militia, tap, 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 boom. 15. All right, let's see what the follow-up is. We need like 2 more turns. Wow, okay. Kills the Sunfire Militia. Interesting. Well, play the land. Play the God. Pass the turn. Oh, did our opponent see it coming? I am very surprised. How did they know to kill the Sunfire Militia? That actually really slows us down. Sunfire Militia is like our key combo piece. I mean, that and the God, but like those are the 2 most important cards in the deck. So losing 1, oh, we were gonna deal a lot of damage. We were gonna win in 2 turns if we had kept that Sunfire Militia. Hulking Raptor, opponent passes. Yeah, all right, let's play Faces, ping it for 4. Play Collector Vault, pass the turn. Opponent untaps with all the manas. Kinda scary. I mean, if we can find Sunfire Militia, we win. We can loot for it. Our limited common. How did our opponent know to kill the limited common? Are we getting stream sniped? We're not even on stream. Are we getting brain sniped? Some psychic thing? Bound it. I mean, they got 7 mana. This is like a tally mana if they have it. Bonehorde Rakazor passes. Geological Appraiser. Well, I mean, I think we just spin it to win it. How about a Sunshot Militia? That would be sweet. All right, faces. Ping you for 4. Opponent kills the etchings. Untaps. Dino. Land. Tokens. Well, Belligerent Yearling's not that big of an issue. So we're 1 burn spell away from lethal. A Faces does it. Sunfire Militia does it. Play with Fire does it. Virtue like, oh, we have so many things that can win us the game. Whatley. They can't flip it though. Well, it's all gonna come down to what we draw this turn. I don't think we can attack for lethal. We just need to draw the burn spell. Another Hammer Skull. And a Paleontologist. It all comes down to this draw. I mean, our opponent's getting an overwhelming board of dinosaurs. Gets in with a Hammer Skull. I think we just block. Come on, deck. Come on, deck. Come on, deck. Ah! Yes, 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 yes. The one that I didn't name and the festivities, that also does it. So we will lightning strike you for 4. And then the greatest and the festivities of all time. Oh! Opponent had like 40 power. They had like 40 power and it just did not matter because Ojer. Oh, it's so good. Oh, I love this deck. Oh, it's so funny. We cracked it. We actually figured out how to make it work. I mean, when I say cracked it, I don't mean cracked as in like we broke standard or something, but I think we actually cracked how to make the Red God into a real card. Sunshot Militia of all things. Who would have guessed? Who would have guessed out of all the cards that would make the Red God good, it would be Sunshot Militia. And that was with our opponent killing the Militia. They would have been dead multiple turns before if that had lived. Well, I mean, we're gonna keep this. We have no removal, so if our opponent just ramps into big dinosaurs, that's pretty scary. The good news is we do have all of our combo pieces. All right, Lore Keeper, but on turn 2. Well, play the land. Charming Scoundrel. Make a treasure. Go attacking. Opponent, mountain, and Hemiskull gets in. So we could just attack in Witchstalker the Hammer Skull. We could also just run out the God and hope it lives. The thing is, they're gonna have another big dinosaur following, right? That's just kind of what dinos do. Opponent blocks. We kill the Hammer Skull. Boy, another Hammer Skull. They just keep coming. Now let's play Collector Vault. Yeah, this is very awkward. Activate Collector Vault. See if we can hit a land. Yes. Sunshot Militia. Play the land, play faces. Pass the turn. Can we live long enough, though? Opponent land. Thankfully, it's tapped. Goes attacking. Could really use a removal spell. All right, down to 17. Oh, triple Hammer Skull. Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. Well, I guess we have to play the God, get a counter. Play the faces, hit you for 4. Triple Hammer Skull, though. Who draws triple Hammer Skull? I think we're gonna be just short. Opponent attacks, attacks, attacks. Oh! And a Witchstalker's Frenzy. Another Lore Keeper. Well, we draw land. We flip. The problem is we have to block multiple things. Too many Hammer Skulls. Too many hammer. We needed like 1 more turn. 2 Hammer Skulls. No worries. 3 Hammer Skulls. I mean, Hammer Skull is a very frightening creature. Just the fact that it's a 6/6 for 3 is so above curve. Even for 2023, like that's just way above the curve. All right, well, I mean, we're gonna keep this, we'll see. No God. The Witchstalker Frenzies have potential to be good. Although, as we saw, the Hammer Skull having 6 toughness is annoying. Opponent, tap land. Well, play the land, play the... I think we gotta get the Collector Vault down, unfortunately. Get in, hit ya. We need to be able to loot for lands and gods. Opponent, Lore Keeper. And more tap lands? Untap land. Well, we hit a land. Opponent, gonna take the beats. Yeah, let's just kill the Lore Keeper. Kill the Lore Keeper, play a mountain. Kind of a bummer to have to spend a lightning strike on it, but opponent, land. Hammer Skull. Every time. Opponent blocks. Well, we get to kill it, Witchstalker's Frenzy. So it's giving our opponent a lot of time, though. Land, Dino. Hulking Raptor. Well, let's loot with the Collector's Vault. Discard the Mountain. Charming Scoundrel. Make a treasure. Pass the turn. Oh, but are we dead? Dinos are just so big. All the mana. Trumpeting Carnosaur. Spins into a Mana Dork. All right. Yup. Okay, things are getting worse. Do we have 2 more turns? Maybe. Mountain. That's not helpful. So, Collector Vault. So we can smack our opponent for a bunch. Do we just pitch? So 7, 12, 13, 14. We're not dead, right? 7, 12, 13, 14. I think we just discard the Frenzy. Play the Mountain. Yoink the Carnosaur. Wicked roll on the Scoundrel. Opponent takes the beats down to 8. And then do we play the Militia? Yeah, I mean, I think so. It costs us 2 treasures. Play the Militia. All right, let's see what you got. If they have haste, then we're dead. Otherwise, we're drawing live for the God with the Sunshot Militia. Oh, all right, yeah. So now, yeah, that's the thing that we can't beat. So hasty dinosaurs. If we block here, we take 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I guess we're not dead. The problem is we lose our Sunfire Militia, which I think means 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. Losing the Sunfire Militia, I don't think we have any live draws now. That doesn't do it. Well, Collector Vault. Loot them up. Oh, the Militia. Yeah. Oh. I guess you can't win them all. So what did we learn this week about Sunshot God combo for Standard? And the deck actually did really well. We went 4-2 with the deck overall, which is a pretty good record for a super cheap 14 rare $69 nice budget deck in Standard. But our plan worked exactly how we drew it up. We look like a mono red aggro deck in a lot of ways, and I think a lot of opponents expect us to be mono red aggro, and then we just get them by surprise with Sunshot Militia into the Red God to close out the game, often from like 12 life, 15 life, 20 life, just kill our opponent in 1 or 2 big turns. So even though it looks strange on paper to be like, hey, we're playing all these sort of aggro red cards, but also Collector's Vault, the plan actually really came to fruition, where we just kind of like build up a big board, play some Voldaren Epicures and Charming Scoundrels, build up some treasures with Collector Vault, and then have this big turn that closes out the game out of nowhere. And I gotta say, I'm pretty convinced at this point that Sunshot Militia is the way to make the Red God work. Like, I think this is the best option. The deck functions really well, and it might be that Sunshot Militia is just a little bit underrated in Standard. It's a card I've seen people talk about a lot for Limited, being like a really great Limited card, but sometimes really great Limited cards end up being constructed cards too, and I think Sunshot Militia might be one of those cards, because it was really impressive in this deck. Like a 2-mana 1/3 that also pings in for some damage, and then once we draw the God, just wins the game. That's a really legit card. So that's Sunshot God combo. If you want to make the Red God work in Standard on a budget, I think this is the way to go. That's been our budget magic for this week. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.